Hello, I'm Melinda Farrell, and this is Bharat Sundaresan. Not in Brisbane, but look, we still managed to find some cricket anyway.
That's what we do.
You
We
can't,
go where the cricket is.
you
It
can't.
doesn't matter that this is not India v Australia, but some of the guys out there seem to be as fit as most of the Indian players are right now, unfortunately.
That's true. Speaking of which, how are India looking ahead of this? I mean, I said the other night they barely had enough fit body parts to make one complete fit player. I don't think that's improved too much over the past couple of days.
I think it might have gotten a little worse because we still sweating on our Ashwin's fitness. We don't know whether how well he's pulled up. I think the Indian team is waiting till tomorrow to take a final call, not just on Ashwin, but on the playing 11. My question is, will there be a playing 11 or will they be short of even having 11 people?
I'm so disappointed you're not in the bubble because I know you're ready and waiting.
Yeah, I know. I've been like walking around in my whites. I slept in my whites, dreaming about my test debut, but it just, I'm not getting the call. Well, like I said, there's still tomorrow. There are flights going out of Sydney to Brisbane, and if I am in that bubble, I don't think they'll give me the new ball though, Mel. But first change, you might see me coming in of the long run.
I mean, might we see someone like, say, if Ashwin was out, we could end up seeing someone like Washington Sundar, couldn't we? Or Kuldeep Yadav, I suppose. But
Yeah.
can you? That would be a bit of a turn up.
Imagine that. Washington Sundar, poor guy, has been just kept back to replicate Nathan Lyon. And I haven't even seen him. He does bowl in the nets, but a lot of times he's just kind of going through his action so that he pitches the ball in the rough. That's been his major duty so far. He hasn't even got a long bat, but I did see him bat during lunch at the SCG a couple of times. So, but this is before all these major injuries happened. Maybe it was a blessing in disguise. Maybe the Indian team knew something that we did not know. And maybe they were getting Washington Sundar ready. But imagine what a story that would be. T. Natarajan, we were talking about how he was in the reserves, but he did get into the T20 squad and one day squad. Washington Sundar was part of just the T20 squad. And if he plays this test, first things first, people will be scampering to find out what his record is in first class cricket. Where does he play? I think the batting ability might get him a gig at number 7, maybe. As you see, we see some excitable cricketers trying to enter the frame.
They can't stay away. We just keep
I know,
attracting them.
I know. The good cricketers, especially, always find us, is what I'll say.
For Australia, well, we know Wolpakovsky was at training, but he didn't train today. They're definitely in a better position as far as fitness goes, but not perhaps in such a good position when you look at the moral standing, perhaps, or how the world sees the moral standing. This whole thing. Now, just so you know, we did actually talk about Steve Smith in our post-match show, but because of a technical problem with the memory card, you might have noticed a little shift in lighting, which meant we had to re-record some stuff. So unfortunately, our amazing answer on that didn't quite make it.
I think it was my best ever on the show.
Yeah, it's setting the bar
Light
pretty
up,
low. But look, at the time we felt that at worst it was something that was a bit silly and he should be, pull his head in. And at best it was just Steve Smith being Steve Smith. And a lot of people out there are saying, saying you're quirky isn't an excuse. But I don't think those people have watched Steve Smith enough to really understand that it goes beyond quirkiness. Like, honestly, we could show up and stand behind the nets wearing clown suits and do cartwheels and juggling, and he seriously wouldn't notice, would he?
Except when a puppy barks, because the only time I've seen him get disturbed during a net is when a puppy started barking. It was a yappy puppy at the MCG nets, but that lasted for just 2 balls. And the puppy kept barking, and then there were bigger dogs who came and kept barking, but Steve Smith never was distracted by that. He does live in his own bubble, and it's a fact, it's not a quirk even these days. He out there, you can see him at slip, he's practicing his leaves, he's practicing his batting. I in fact wanted to make a point during the first 2 tests about how first slip was the worst position for Joe Burns, who did not want to think about batting, but how can you not think about batting when the guy next to you is doing this? Or every time an opposition batsman plays a cut shot or a shot that Steve Smith is impressed by, he's trying to play that. That's all he does. And the whole marking the guard thing is just something he does. The problem these days is when these clips come out, they just get accentuated to an extent. People watch it so many times that you start thinking about sinister things. There was a video or a little clip that someone had tagged me on. I think they tagged you on as well from the MCG test when they said, "Oh, what are Rahane and Mohammad Siraj doing?" They're walking back and some Rahane pulls something out of his pocket. They are hand warmers, guys. Come on, like I know there have been controversies in the past, but we can't just jump on every little thing we see with sinister intentions, or nobody is out there just to cheat. And I think we should just take it a little easy and not blow everything out of proportion. And just because there's not been too much, pardon the Aussie expression, aji baji in this series, doesn't mean that we need to create some sitting outside.
Now, on that, see, now we did note before that test, Tim Payne had actually alluded to the fact that there might be a little bit more argy-bargy in the test. They were prophetic words and not in a good way. And he knows that he stuffed up.
Yes.
He absolutely knows he stuffed up. He wasn't forced to come out and apologise again the next morning. Tim Payne is very much his own man with his own ability to look at it, and he knows he stuffed up. And he had a really bad day and a pretty ordinary test overall. And all that, like the stuff around on Stump Mike and everything, is nonsense that, again, I think gets blown up anyway. So he stuffed up. And I think what both things show with Smith and with Payne is that post Newlands, and I know you can say DRS gate as well, but post Newlands and the Australian team since then having, turned things around, the new culture, everything else, it's just a fact that anytime they can even be perceived to be acting in an unsportsmanlike way, whatever it is, whether it's in their attitude and their chatter or something else, it's going to blow up, especially if it's Steve Smith. But it is absolutely going to blow up. And I think we're seeing now the longer term effects of what happened at Newlands. And I think that's possibly going to, I think it's going to follow around this team for a long time. And I think it's going to follow Steve Smith around for his whole career. And I know there's been discussion about whether or not, he could be considered for the captaincy again. I think this shows that would be a bad move, even for his own sake, because unless he's going to be absolutely perfect for the rest of his career, it's just going to blow up every single time. And that's going to be a lot of pressure. I don't know why you would do it. I don't think that's going to be helpful. Is that fair?
Yeah, it is fair. And it's unfortunate as well. He's not the first one to have been found guilty of some wrongdoing. And we're not even going to get into what extent he was guilty in the whole episode. That's all old news now. But the thing is, this incident to me also proves why Steve Smith should not be captain. And my only rationale behind that is because he's so much into his own batting, in his own bubble. Does not mean that he doesn't contribute to his team. Tim Payne, even during the Ashes, we saw it last summer, even now, he does go to Steve Smith to confer on certain decisions. He does help him out with the fields at times. But most of the time he's in his own world, which as a captain, you can't afford to be, because there will be incidents when something like that gets picked up, when you are, like I said, in the bubble, in your bubble, and it looks bad. At least here Steve Smith wasn't captain. Imagine if he was captain. And then what happens then? Tim Payne is being picked up for calling someone a dickhead. But if Steve Smith was the one doing that, or like if Steve Smith was captain, it would have looked much worse. And I don't think it'll ever leave them, the stigma of what happened there. And also what happens then is you go ahead and make a documentary about how you will be perfect, or if not perfect, at least you'll follow this elite culture. What you're literally doing is you're setting yourself up to fail because the only way is the way down from there. You're basically said we cannot afford any slip-ups. Nobody can have a bad day. Nobody can lose their cool. Nobody can even be seen doing anything with all the 1,000 cameras around. And this, don't forget, Mel, is happening in Australia. Imagine what's going to happen when Australia go to South Africa next, or even when Australia go to India next. There'll be more cameras following you around. So even the slightest of slip-ups, or what people will perceive as a slip-up, is going to come and bite you back. So it's unfortunate, but like I said, if you raise the bar so high for your own self, it's at times very difficult to maintain it or live up to it.
Yeah, and that stuff with Ashwin at the end, he really picked the wrong target in so many ways. And it's the kind of thing, even as he said to Ashwin at the end, I kind of ended up looking like an ass, didn't
Yeah.
I? And if the other thing had happened, you know, if it had worked, if it had discomforted Ashwin so much that he ended up getting out, then he would have just looked, it would have looked even worse almost,
Exactly.
wouldn't it? So I think there's a lot for them to think about, and I think they probably are, but calls for Tim Payne to lose his captaincy and stuff is just
Just too much.
way too much. That's what we think. You might disagree, of course, and that's completely fine. Can't tell people what to think, but this is how honestly we
Exactly.
feel. We tend to see the best in people too, don't we?
Mel does. I'm learning to do that a lot more.
I'm
She's
trying.
making me a better human being.
I'm trying to make him
She's
nicer.
teaching me how to heal the world.
I'm trying. Anyway, just because we're not in Brisbane doesn't mean that we won't be keeping you up to date with lots of
It
things.
doesn't mean the cricket's over.
Oh,
Okay, yeah. Well, this is generally when we do our videos at
Exactly.
the close of play. I don't know what the score is, but I can see a lot of players are changing into their. All right, we'll not go in there.
yeah. Oh my God.
Yeah, exactly. Look away, Mel. Look away. Too close to the dressing room. We should never face the dressing room. I mean, I can, but yeah, look away.
We'll
See you next time. Same place, same time, same channel. And we'll still be in Sydney. The test match will be in Brisbane. And maybe tomorrow, when we do this next, we'll know who will be playing.
Okay.
Till then, Mel, keep your eyes closed. Oh, in fact, now definitely keep your eyes closed. See ya.